Hello, good evening, and welcome. I'm John Lazarus with Stories Matter and D&E Publishing. Look around your room right now and try to find something wrong. For example, there might be dirty clothes piled all over the floor. Maybe there are several wedges of half-eaten cheese on different tables in the room. Perhaps there are painful cysts growing in your armpits, which your doctor says is likely caused by overconsumption of old cheese. If YouTube analytics is to be believed, all of these things are true. You might think I'm a psychic, but actually I'm just a writer who, through years of hard work, taught himself to be perceptive of character flaws, in fiction and in real life. And while that didn't stop me from marrying a woman who turned out to be a serial bigamist, it did teach me to write many complex heroes with compelling characterization. We'll explore how to exploit our worst personal demons to earn a few extra bucks on this edition of Stories Matter. Speaking of flaws, today's video is brought to you by Hubbard Telehealth. If you listen to any podcast, you've probably heard a lot of buzz about online mental health counseling. If you need someone to help you cope with the stress of everyday life without turning to wedges of assorted cheese for comfort, look no further than Hubbard Telehealth. Fully accredited by the Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, Hubbard Telehealth has a team of evaluators available to provide auditing sessions 24/7. I've been using Hubbard Telehealth since the start of the pandemic. Since then, my auditor and I have made big progress on my relationship problems, and now I only drive by my second wife's new house once a week. Call Hubbard Telehealth today to get your e-meter for 3 easy payments of $99.95. Okay, let's just say this. No one is perfect. For writers with large egos, sometimes this can be hard to remember. Hell, as a man who was first published at 25, who sports a full head of hair at 52, and has erections that last 3 hours and 59 minutes, sometimes it's hard for me to think of any personal flaws. But trust me, I've got plenty. For example, as I'm recording this video, I happen to be twirling a loaded pistol. In any case, it's flaws that give your characters depth, make them relatable and memorable. But it's important to remember that flaws are always internal, never external. So having an alcoholic mother or living in Ohio aren't flaws, depressing as they may be. We'll start by looking at different kinds of flaws and analyze some classic examples from fiction. For starters, we have minor flaws. Now, these are often unique or memorable, but don't have any real impact on your narrative. Indiana Jones's fear of snakes is a classic example of a fun, humanizing flaw. In my revenge novel set in Georgian England, Bride of Prejudice, Leandra has a hideous scar that runs from her right temple to her left tit. It's a unique character trait, but doesn't really affect her or her arc in any way. Then we have major flaws. These are catalysts for action, and they drive the story. For Holden Caulfield, it's his self-pride and inability to cope with trauma that sets him at odds with everyone in the story. For Cable Anderkin in Blake Colby's Bloodshot, it's the memories of missing free throws to get an 8th seed in the playoffs that haunt him. Then we have the fatal flaw. These either make or break the character. For the hero, the whole story might be about overcoming this flaw, and for the villain, it's often their downfall. Ahab's obsession for revenge and Humbert's pedophilia are classic examples here. And in the sitcom Heil Honey, I'm Home, it's Hitler's lack of social graces that ruin the dinner party. Now let's look at some ways to construct our own character flaws. Step 1. Create relatable flaws. If you want your reader to connect with your character, there's nothing better than making them relatable. Think of common flaws that most people have. Maybe your character masturbates 10 times a day. Or maybe they're bad with money, spending half their income on antique guns. In one of my early stories, 0 Point Infinity, one of the characters constantly tries to kill himself but is thwarted at every turn. Almost every reader I talked to, most of them millennials, felt this spoke to them on a deeply personal level. Step 2. Don't get preachy. Now, this is especially important when writing villains. Like a bartender or the guy who cleans the elevators at the Aruba Holiday Inn, a fiction writer shouldn't moralize. Your writing loses its effectiveness if you don't let your character beliefs and actions speak for themselves. In Crime and Punishment, for example, Dostoevsky isn't concerned with the moral implications of what Raskolnikov has done. He's just trying to tell an exciting murder mystery. Step 3. Create a balance between positive and negative. Saints and demons aren't interesting. The worst of us have our virtues, and the best have our flaws. Hell, Hitler was a vegetarian, and Steven Seagal donates to environmental causes. And then there's Mr. Rogers, who somehow thought children wanted to look at this fucking thing. Complex and three-dimensional characters should be balanced, like how Sherlock Holmes' brilliance is balanced by his lust for cocaine, or like how the dumbass clones in Never Let Me Go's generosity is balanced by their inability to realize they ought to just go on a rampage and murder everyone. Step 4. Use flaws to create conflict. Think of any drama you experienced in real life. It was probably caused by a personal flaw. Maybe you got in a car crash because you really liked the way you looked in the rearview mirror. Maybe you lost your job because you're so fucking dumb you thought the world's most obvious con man really was looking out for what's best for you. It could be anything. In fiction, flaws like these should drive the narrative. Recklessness might get your hero's friend killed. Callousness might tear a friendship apart. In basically any noir, being a thirsty simp for Crazy Strange is nearly always a catalyst for destruction. In my drama, Storming the Gates of Heaven, the prejudice of the protagonist gets the story in motion. Carl Eichmann shoots a Mexican that he thinks is trying to illegally enter the US, only to find out that the Grand Canyon isn't actually located on the border between Mexico and the United States. That's all for today. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll leave you with this week's This Day in Literary History. See you on the next one.